We are just weeks away from the release of what looks to be the epic conclusion of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. And even though we've got a bunch of familiar faces, we've got a new villain on the scene. But who is he? Why does he hate raccoons? Let's talk about the High Evolutionary and how he may fit into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The High Evolutionary is a Marvel Comics character that was created by writer Roy Thomas and artist Sal Buscema, and first appeared in the Mighty Thor number 134 all the way back in 1966.
I'm an old man!
Oh, and by the way, if the actor who is playing the High Evolutionary in the trailers looks familiar to you, that's because he's Chikuti Iwuji, a James Gunn veteran having played Myrn in Gunn's Peacemaker series. Now, before he became the High Evolutionary, he was Herbert Wyndham, a geneticist obsessed with evolution. He was particularly enamored by the work of one Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister. Wyndham believed that humans were not the end of the evolutionary chain and that there was a higher form of life waiting to be discovered. Looking to find this higher form, Wyndham developed a machine called the Evolution Accelerator that could speed up the process of evolution. He experimented on his pet Dalmatian, which did not make the science community happy, so he packed up and set up shop in Wundagore. If that sounds familiar, that's because that's where Scarlet Witch seemingly died in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness while trying to wield the spells of the Darkhold. This mountain, like in the film, contained a multitude of magical horrors, so Wyndham wore protective armor to keep him safe from the powers of this mystical surrounding. Wyndham also used the accelerator on himself, which is what transformed him into the High Evolutionary. He gained incredible powers, including superhuman strength, speed, and durability, all the standards. He also gained the ability to manipulate matter at the molecular level, which allowed him to create and control life forms. These animal-human hybrids would be dubbed the New Men. For the most part, these creatures were loyal to the High Evolutionary. Now, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, WandaVision explains that the Infinity Stone unlocks Wanda's true potential, and this experimentation can also tie into the High Evolutionary. Maybe. There's one storyline in the 2015 comic Uncanny Avengers where Wanda's mutant status is actually retconned, and it is revealed that the High Evolutionary is the one who unlocked her powers and magical abilities. The High Evolutionary's quest for creating superior evolved species led him to clash with many of Marvel's superheroes. He believed that his vision of the future was the only way to save humanity.
Doing this for your own good.
And that he was willing to do whatever it took to achieve his goals. Because of that, he clashed with the Avengers, the X-Men, and even the Fantastic Four. So, theoretically, how could he be used in Guardians of the Galaxy? Well, first we have those clips of Rocket being experimented on in the trailer. It looks like we're getting a Rocket origin story here. Now, to be clear, in the comics, the High Evolutionary did not create Rocket. Instead, in issue Marvel Preview number 7 from 1976, Rocket is from a place called Half-World, where robotic scientists enhanced animals with intelligence for the purpose of having them care for mentally ill patients. I'm going to let you wrap your head around the idea that Rocket is actually a therapy animal for a second. Take your time. We know Laya the otter, Rocket's love, is featured in the film. We've seen tiny baby Rocket in posters and the trailers as well. And we know he has strong opinions when it comes to the High Evolutionary. Rocket's lament of, "I didn't ask to be made," from the first Guardians film will be deeply explored here, I guarantee it.
Well, I didn't ask to get made! I didn't ask to be torn apart and put back together over and over and turned into some little monster!
Next, we have the potential Adam Warlock connection. Now, in the comics, the High Evolutionary stumbled upon a super evolved being just floating through space. He would simply call this entity him until landing on the name Adam Warlock. In the comics, the High Evolutionary bestowed the Soul Stone to him and made him the protector of his own world. Now, eventually in the comics, Warlock would turn against the High Evolutionary when he tries to destroy all life on Earth and replace it with his own creations. Does he have some sort of Infinity Stone in his possession? Possibly one pilfered from the desk drawer of a TVA agent? Or is this version of Adam Warlock going to be powered differently? Since we've seen Warlock fighting the Guardians in various TV trailers and spots, I think it's safe to say Warlock will be the champion of the High Evolutionary, at least for the first 2 acts of the film, and then once he learns more of his leader's nefarious plots and that he and Star-Lord have mothers with the same name,
Why did you say that name?
they will join together and fight alongside the Guardians. There's also certainly room to shoehorn the High Evolutionary into Wanda's origin story too, running the experiments that gave her and her brother their powers, or could see him stumble upon Wanda in Wondergore. I've said it before and I'll say it again, you cannot trust an off-screen death, not to mention most characters in the MCU end up being revived one way or the other. Honestly, the possible X-Men and mutants connection is the one I'm most intrigued by. Could we hear about the High Evolutionary's idol Nathaniel Essex? Could that research paired with his experiments on Rocket and Adam Warlock lead to mutant powers being unleashed on Earth? Now look, before we get too carried away with the theories, we should also be aware that this movie's version of the High Evolutionary may have no connections to Earth whatsoever, and may in fact just be an alien being with no ties to Wanda, Mr. Sinister, Wondergore, or anything at all. We'll find out soon. So, that'll do it for our quick little primer on the High Evolutionary, the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We hope you found this at least a little bit informative and entertaining. That'll do it for us for now. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name's John Campea, and we'll see you next time.